All right, number 4, we want to solve the exponential equation. So with this one, we have e to the x plus e to the negative x equals 3. So first I would rewrite e to the negative x with a positive exponent. So if you remember properties of exponents, this will become e to the x and then plus 1 over e to the x, and then that equals 3. And then we don't like fractions, so how do we get rid of a fraction? Well, we multiply by what we're dividing by. So I would multiply everything, both sides, by e to the x to get rid of that fraction. So then comes into play properties of exponents. When you have the same base and you're multiplying, you add the exponent. So x plus x, when I multiply here, will give me 2x. So that will give me e to the 2x. When I multiply e to the x times this, the e to the x will cancel out, leaving me with just a positive 1. And then I would have to multiply e to the x times 3, and that would give me 3 e to the x. And then we're going to move everything to one side. So I'm going to subtract and move this 3 e to the x over. So I have an e to the 2x minus 3 e to the x, and then plus 1 equals 0. So at this point, we're supposed to realize that this looks like a quadratic equation. So it's kind of like an exponent squared, a single variable, and then a number. So what the text wants us to do is solve this by doing a substitution. So think of the e to the x like your variable. So if I rewrite this, this is like e to the x to the second power. So this is like my squared variable, and then minus 3, and then my e to the x. So this is acting like my x, and then plus 1 equals 0. So we're going to treat e to the x just like x. So in the textbook they might put u or some other letter there, but just treat the whole thing like an x. It's kind of hard to see that, but we're going to try to factor. So you got 1 and 1, and we want to see if that would equal to 3, which it will not. So I think we're going to have to do quadratic formula. It may be better to put the u's there just for the sake of seeing what's going on. So let's just say e to the x equals u. So this is going to be u squared minus 3u plus 1 equals 0. This will not factor, so we're going to do quadratic formula. So we're going to do negative b, which would be a positive 3 plus or minus the square root of 3 squared, so that's going to give us 9, minus 4 times a, which is 1, times c, which is 1, all over 2 times a, which is 1. So this is what we're writing, u equals this, because that's what we normally have, x. Alright, so as we simplify, we'll get u equals 3 plus or minus, this will be 9 minus 4, so that'll be the square root of 5, all divided by 2. So we got two answers. We got u, which now that we have these u's by themselves, we can replace them with e to the x because that's what we started with. But we got u equals 3 plus square root of 5 over 2. And then we have a u equals 3 minus square root of 5 over 2. And then we have to convert this back to e. So this is basically saying e to the x equals 3 plus square root of 5 over 2. And kind of like what we did in problem 3, we're trying to solve for x, so if I wrote this in exponential form or log form, this would give me x equals, and this would be ln of all of this. It would be the 3 plus square root of 5 over 2. And so basically the same thing would happen with this one. I would get x equal, and it would be ln of this side. So ln of 3 minus 5 over 2. 3 minus square root of 5 over 2. So just following that same setup. So whatever I got over here, the natural log of that would give me my answer. So it wants us to type an integer or decimal rounded to the nearest hundred. So I'm going to round to 2 decimal places. And so again, I will need the calculator to evaluate this for me. I'll turn this on, and I'm just going to type ln, and then I'm going to do alpha y equal enter. If you don't have the operating system, you can just, let me delete this. If you don't have the operating system, just make sure you do the numerator in parentheses, add an extra set of parentheses. So we'll do 3 plus second square root of 5, and then close. So you got to get the numerator all together and then do divided by 2. Okay. And if you don't do that, the calculator will invoke order of operations, and it will automatically do square root of 5 divided by 2 first, and that's not what we want to do, and you'll get an incorrect answer. So be careful with how you input it into the calculator. So this gives me one answer, and if I hit second enter, that brings up what I last typed in. I like that because it does it all for me, and all I have to do is change the plus sign to a minus to get my other answer. So I'm going to arrow back to the plus sign and just change that to a minus. So I get my 2 answers. I got a positive 0.96 rounded to the nearest hundredth and a negative 0.96.